Welcome back to the Human Nexus. My name is Andrew Brazis. I am a business and marketing consultant and private chef.
Welcome back. My name is Miss Laura Machiste. I am a online tarot reader, holistic massage therapist, and energy coach. And today we are talking about tarot, which is probably where most of you know me from that are watching this. And Andrew is actually a Leo subscriber, so we connected
Mhm.
through tarot as well. So that's kind of like the first question I have for you before I tell mine is how
Yeah.
did you get into tarot?
So I got into tarot through my mentor. So actually, Rennie, who we had on, he
Mhm.
not my mentor, but a dear friend of mine. I remember I was working in a restaurant at the time, and he's like, "Hey, I know you're into like witchy stuff. I met this psychic tarot reader. You just got to go see her. Like, you got to go see her. It's like a 2 hour drive." So I was like, "All right, make it happen." And we go, and I met my mentor, Barbara, who's no longer with us. And once I had the first tarot reading, I was very open to it, and it resonated pretty well. So I started doing some research, and she convinced me to get a deck. And the process of getting my deck, I know people say like you should have your deck gifted to you. Have you heard this before?
Yes, I did hear that before.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's in the community. That's not what I was told. But what I did was I once I decided I was going to purchase one, I went online, started looking at different ones, and so I had seen, I don't know if you've ever shopped online for tarot decks. There's like millions and millions, right? So that night or that week, I go to sleep. I have this dream, and the first deck that I bought, it's called the Tarot Illuminati, and I saw essentially I was having these premonitions, but it was through the side of the deck. I wish I had it out. The deck looks like a mirror almost, but like a third
Mm.
eye, like in the shape of that. And I was seeing things happening through essentially the graphic backside of the deck. And then I realized like this is the deck I have to buy. And then from there, it was just learning, I mean, being mentored by her. And this was what, 10-ish years now ago. So, and since then, it's been pretty much a daily practice.
Yeah, that is definitely something I heard with the gift of tarot. That actually is what happened to me. My sister was going through a breakup, and usually at the low points is when you get into spirituality because you're looking for some type of answers or assistance or guidance or just really anything. So when I tell you she probably blew like hundreds of dollars at the spiritual store, and she is a Leo too, and
Mhm.
Leos are ruled by the heart. A lot of times, like gift giving is in that nature. So she actually gifted me a tarot deck, and I had no idea what tarot was at the time. I remember like seeing it in movies or shows and stuff like that, but as a spiritual person, I always just knew my life was weird. I never like looked into stuff. I never like
Mhm.
looked into tarot. I looked into like my horoscope in the magazines and stuff like that, but nothing ever like too deep. So when she got me this deck, I was like, oh, okay. I, at that point, I want to say unhealthily taught myself how to read tarot because I was doing it in the sense towards romantic relationships. So if it was a Friday, I would ask the cards, like, what is this person going to say to me this weekend? And if they did say something or didn't say something, I would have instant kind of clarification of what the cards meant. So although it wasn't the best way to do it, it was
It was a tool.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but there were some moments that like I felt attached to it where I was kind of like, all right, well, I didn't like what I got, so then I re-pulled and like if you know tarot, like they don't care. They're still gonna give you the same message, the same message, the same message, no
I
matter
have,
how
when you're
many
done, I
times.
have something to add to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I went through that and I kind of got instant clarification pretty quickly because I was only asking about a period of time. So once
Hmm.
that period of time was over, I'm like, okay, so this card is definitely a no for these types of questions because nothing happened. Or if I got a pentacle instead of a wand, and what I was asking for happened a little later, that taught me that like each element has a different time frame and stuff like that. I also had this book that I would look up what the meaning was. So I did that for a while, and then I was just surprised at one point. I'm like, how does it know?
Mhm.
And that's kind of when I started watching YouTube tarot readings. I actually who did I start with? Consciousness Evolution Journey. She is the person that I started with. And down the line, I found out she was a Pisces, which makes so much sense as to why I started with her. And I was watching videos and I'm like, I could do this. And that's exactly what I did. I went
I
to my
love
own
that.
tarot school and I started. I actually made an Instagram, and this is like, when like you don't know what you're doing in the moment, but then you figure
Mhm.
out a little later and you're like, how did I know to do that? So
Yeah.
I didn't really know much about how to work with energy in the beginning
Mhm.
of my spiritual journey. It was something just said to me, it didn't feel right in my heart to offer readings to people for a price if I've
Mhm.
only read for myself and like my friends. So I made an Instagram account, created Miss Machiste, and I think I did like 150 free readings for people.
That's amazing.
And
And
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like in business, when you're starting out, that's one of the recommendations that I always have is like, if you have something great, give it out for free, get some reviews, see what people think, get feedback. That's amazing to
Hmm.
start that way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I didn't know that
Mhm.
was a thing. I just subconsciously was like, it doesn't feel right. I need to
Mhm.
like gain the confidence and not be having imposter syndrome from people I don't know
Yeah.
and see how that works. So, I remember getting a bunch of messages back, like either days later or weeks later, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what you said happened," or this, that, and the other. And then people were actually like willing to. They're like, "Well, what's your price? I want you to. I want to ask another question." And I was like,
Mhm.
"What?" So I never even put a price out there. People came back and asked me what my price was without the first free reading. And I was like, "Oh, so it kind of was like created for me." And then in due time, after being on Instagram for whatever amount of time, they were in that support system of like, make a YouTube channel. And that's at the same time where I was like, I can do this. And then I
Yeah.
made a YouTube channel and now here I am.
And it's amazing because when I found you, I was like in the deep, deep depths of like grief and so I essentially what I did before, like when that process happening is I watched multiple, like 15, 20 different tarot readers. And it's you, and then there's two other that I really, really resonated with. I just like felt the energy was authentic. The readings were aligned in a way that made sense. Um, and it was just so funny that we connected through there. It was just crazy to me still. Um,
Yeah.
you said that when we're reading, you kind of get the same answer if it's in that like a specific time frame. So something that Barbara would teach or taught me was to do readings every full moon, and that
Mm.
everything within those full moon stents, she was like, you might as well not ask tarot. Like, would you do it once for that full moon and then just don't bother coming back around until the other moon cycle, because that's when the energies are like shifting. How do you
Mm.
feel about that?
Well, that's even crazier too, because I didn't know I was doing that either. I just
Mhm.
was like, how can I give my community a little bit of different type of readings? So then I started doing readings for the full moons and the new moons. So
Mhm.
like there are so many things that I've done or still do or incorporated that like I didn't it was just an idea, but now you saying this right now just clarified again. All right, it wasn't
Yeah.
an idea. It was kind of just the guidance of hey, do this. The little
Yeah.
whisper that I guess I hear during my daily life because it's not only
Mhm.
when I'm reading tarot, I'm constantly hearing things and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Who is it for? What do I have to say? And a lot of the times when I was watching, because I would float on YouTube for a bit,
Mhm.
and you know, when you start your own thing, you kind of like take a little bit from all your inspiration. And some
Hmm.
people inspire you to not be like them.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of readers who, oh my gosh, they just go right for the fear, right for the fear, right
Hmm.
for the fear. All the titles, warning, this. If there's a legit warning, I will write it. But if it is not, there's no reason to say it or a reason to write it. So I was in that position of like, all right, well, I want to be someone who isn't, you know, just saying things to say things. And a lot of the times I realized that that's what helped people connect to me, in the sense of, I'll say, like, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I know some of you know how to read tarot. If you get the 3 of Swords, I'm not going to say it's going to be the greatest day of your life, you
Hmm.
know? So
Yeah.
a lot of the times on tarot, I saw it's either hyper, hyper positive or hyper, hyper negative. And I was like, how can I figure out how to be in the middle and teach people how to work with, if it's a little bit more negative or if it's a little bit more positive, and how to sit in those energies. So I kind of take it as like, I read tarot, but I also help you how to navigate through the energy that is coming your way, either willingly or non-willingly.
Yeah, that's amazing. I too, I guess I have a question. I think so for
Mm-hmm.
me, tarot has taught me so much, just like learning how to work with the energies and understanding them better. I don't uh agree with what I learned from Barbara anymore about the full moon. The full moon, I think it's full moon to new moon personally, because I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed these like 2 week cycles, 2.5 weeks or whatever it is, cycles where they are changing and the energies are always in motion and everything, but those overall themes stay the same. But for me, tarot has taught me like how to work with those energies really well. Have you learned, like, do you have any big lessons from working with tarot that you think is like important to share?
You know, I feel like tarot is constantly in the position of trying to just get you through the journey. So, if you actually study the tarot, you will see that it is based off like the journey of life.
Mhm.
So, if you're constantly getting the same card or the same message, or the energy hasn't changed with maybe moons or this or that, and I like, some people, I'll get that comment and they're like, you've been saying that there's been a raise in Leo's energy for 2 months now and nothing has ever happened to me. And it's like, and it won't, because you're not on that frequency. But there are other people out there that are reading for your frequency, but it's not me. So that's what I also realized with tarot, is that it's going to get you where you're at. And a lot of the times we are way more stuck than we think we are. And people get mad at the cards and they're like, why do you keep giving me? Like, I used to hate the 7 of Pentacles because I just knew that it meant I had to wait longer, and I hate waiting. And then I kind of realized, like, okay, but this card is trying to teach you something. Like, there's a meaning behind it. There is a energy behind it. There's ways that you can maneuver this energy free willingly. So I feel like taking out the prediction aspect to tarot and putting in the tool perception is very beneficial to people that either use it, read it, or watch it. Because if the soulmate that this reader picked on 3 months ago was the one forever for all Leos in the world, that kind of, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it can definitely become super negative,
right.
like using it that way. But I mean, I mean, I know, like me personally, so I had a relationship and I was reading throughout the relationship and I wasn't sharing it with anybody. And I realized that my partner had either cheated on me or was having an affair or whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fuck, I wish I wouldn't have seen that. I really wish I wouldn't have read that because then it was like manifesting in my day to day. And as far as I know, that actually did happen in that relationship. And so for a very long time, it was like, did I create this because I saw it and then I mentally, energetically manifested it, or was this going on and then it was, does that make sense?
It does
But I
make
was
sense.
obsessing with it for a while. Sorry.
It does make sense. And that's what I feel like happens with humans is that sometimes we get obsessed with the answer. We want to know why and we want to know if something is happening right this moment. So a lot of the times the cards do pick up on the future. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what if somebody wasn't into tarot, but they just had trust issues and same
Yeah.
thing.
But it
And
shows
all of
up
a
the
sudden,
same.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
So that's why I use like this big tarot deck. I don't think it's going to show on camera, but I use a regular Rider White, but then I also use a big tarot deck that is based off the Rider White, but with words. And the Seven of Swords that would give you like thief, deception vibes. In that deck, it actually says seek the truth.
Hmm.
And that's what happens when you get the Seven of Swords. Now all of a sudden you're like, who's lying to me? What's
Yeah.
going on? Who's deceiving me? So I wouldn't necessarily say that it was created from you reading the cards, because if there's someone who has trust issues that doesn't read cards, then did they just create it with their mind in general? Or
Yeah.
was it always bound to happen and your intuition just knew?
Hmm.
So that
Yeah.
kind of stuff goes hand in hand. And it's really just like,
Well, that goes into like using like the theory of like any tool can be used for good or evil. And it's like if you
mm-hmm,
don't have all the information and know how to use the tool properly, you're gonna misuse it. And in this case with tarot, it could be filling your head with things that aren't even actual outcomes or like actually going on just because you don't understand what
right.
you're using.
Yeah. So that's why I do tell people like if you want to get into tarot and get a deck that explains on the card with words.
Hmm.
Because if
That's
not,
smart.
your brain is going to make things up thinking that's what it thinks it is because this book told you that's what the card means. But if one card is supported with another card, it totally just changes the meaning. You
Hmm.
know, like you can get the Three of Swords to the Four of Swords. That could be really scary if you just get the Three of Swords. But then if you get it followed by the Four of Swords, you're like, oh, I got over something really fast. This is great.
Hmm.
So there's like supportive energy. And that's why I use a lot of Oracle because it's not just the tarot, it's anything. And that's kind of where I went and spoke to you. I don't know if it was last episode or the other episode or just an hour communication where you can read cards with regular playing deck. It has the
Oh yeah.
same elements, the
Hmm.
spades, it has the hearts, it has the what's the other one?
Clubs.
Clubs and the whatever. And then there's the kings, there's the jacks, there's the queens of each of these. I'm like, I forgot. I haven't played cards in a
Uh,
while. And then you have the queen, the jack, and the king. The only thing that those cards don't have are the major arcanas in the tarot, but they have everything else. They have all the smaller suits and they have all the people in there, except for the pages, actually. But still, it's the same type of thing. And a lot of times that's why I read the way that I read. I'll either get a number first. I always start with Oracle because
how
a
did you
lot of,
develop that?
honestly, I just kind of went with the flow of what I
Okay.
felt.
Yeah.
And I also like watched a couple different tarot readers. So like I said, some people I was inspired by, like, okay, I got really into numerology and I never saw anybody pull numbers like that. So I incorporated that in. And it's funny now I'll get comments on my channel and people like send me links to other people's videos and say, oh, this person is reading numbers too, or oh, this person does your layout, or this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's all right, you know, like
That's good.
as long as it's not my video, then it's cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't tell you like there's no like
Uh,
explanation to the thoughts that I have. They just come.
do you believe in like blessing your deck? So before you answer, um, what I was taught was I have it written down somewhere. There's a whole ritual for blessing a deck. You do it on a full moon, a very specific full moon, if
Hmm.
possible. And then you carry around your deck with you in your pocket. You sleep with it to like kind of imbume your energy. And then I was also taught to read on a Ouija board that's been blessed and cleansed. And that's
Mm.
like ultimate efficiency for reading. Do you do believe any of that or use it or have you done any of that?
I never used the Ouija board.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of feel like I was more or less like forced onto the spiritual path per se. So all of those things are kind of just like extras to me, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. But I
Yeah.
do bless my decks. I have blessings incense. I take each deck, I go through it and do those types of things, have the window open, leave the window open for whatever energy that doesn't belong on it to leave. I have sound, so I'll use sound to cleanse a lot of stuff, but I don't carry anything with me. I don't put anything under my pillow. I kind of just whatever I think of, like I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden I'll be like the incense cleanse the angel deck. And I'll be like, okay.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's like because I'm not fully in the position of I didn't I didn't free willingly get into this, you
Yeah.
know? So if anything wants to be used by me, it's got to give me a reason. So if a
Hmm.
Ouija board wants to be used by me, then it's got to give me a reason for me to go buy it and go do it. And I did not ever feel like that calling. I never felt like a tarot deck wanted to come with me somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, I just incense them and use some sound, and that's really
Yeah,
it.
that's
But
good.
I definitely feel like it's beneficial to cleanse them out, especially if you're reading for different people or if you're reading for different zodiac signs and that position. But other than that, all like witchy stuff, I'm not really like
Yeah. I was just
I'm a
curious because
logical, spiritual person.
yeah, that was just like my only exposure of it, which to me makes
Hmm.
sense coming like just from where I know that my mentor was coming from. Um, but I like as far as like the community is concerned, I have no idea what's like normal, what people do.
Well, I've heard
Um,
that a lot of times though, to put
yeah.
the deck underneath your pillow. Like I've heard the
Mhm.
pillow stuff
Yeah.
before.
It's something about this like putting your energy into that deck. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many superstitions. There's so many superstitions
Hmm.
with just this kind of woo-woo
Yeah.
spiritual stuff.
But that would
Um,
make sense though, because if everybody is, we're all the same, but we're all different. So, like, if one thing works for you, it may not work for someone else, and vice versa. So, that kind of is an indication of just whatever they feel like doing in the sense of if they feel the need to. Like, I remember one time on my channel, I pulled out a deck that I haven't used in a while, and I said, like, I just feel like this deck wants to be used in the reading. And someone commented and they were like, decks don't talk like whatever. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like
yeah,
wrote it right over your head, I think. So I feel like everyone just has like a different view of like what they
yeah.
feel like is cleansing, what they feel like is important to recharge stuff, and this, that, and the other. Like one of my suite members, she's cleansing her room constantly. She got candles, she got this, she's doing all this stuff in there, and I just leave. I'll use my sound. I'll do a little candle situation, and I'm like, all right, I'm out.
Is there
I like to think I'm
anything?
protected. So,
Yeah, no, I agree there too. But I think we also do things to protect ourselves, like
hmm,
pretty on a regular basis in our own way.
right.
Um, what was I going to ask? Oh, is there anything that you think is important to share with like getting started or like people wanting to do tarot who might not know where to start? I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but
Yeah, I would definitely do something where free readings are always good. Reading for friends and family is like a little bit iffy. Because once you start, doesn't
everybody
matter where
wants
you're
one.
at, you're gonna keep on having to do it.
Hmm.
I really feel like getting a tarot deck with words on it is important because I kind of wish I did that in the beginning. It would have been a little bit easier for me. Um, and I kind of want to say don't get attached to it because it once you realize that it is giving you answers and it does kind of know, sometimes we get into a hyper knowingness where we want to know everything about everything, and that's kind of
Hmm.
like not how energy works per se, because once you think you do know, like you may take a different action or do something different, and sometimes you change the energy, and that's why I always get like an advice position. So whatever the advice is advising or guiding, if you do the total opposite, then just let this reading go. Go find a different reading. Because if you don't feel like you resonate with what the advice is saying or what the guidance is saying, then this energy will A, pass you by, B, not manifest for you, or C, turn around in a different position than what I read off.
Yeah.
So I feel like knowing that you have the control, but some things are just going to happen no matter what. Like, for example, I went somewhere to meet somebody new, and I just like happily, out of curiosity, was like, oh, let's pull a card and see. Boom, I got the Three of Swords. I don't know why I'm on the Three of Swords today. I got the Three of Swords, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's totally not how the vibe's been going, but I guess sure.
Mhm.
Then at the end of the day, at the end of the night, after the meeting, whatever, Three of Swords was the energy. But I had a very nice, like, oh, okay. I knew that was
Yeah.
happening. But it was just like in the back of my head. It wasn't like I
Yeah.
wasn't like focusing on it.
Yeah. No,
That was
that's
cool.
really important. Like releasing the out like the idea of the outcome. Like if you get
Mm-hmm.
attached to that, it kind of messes with everything. I think too, like not only releasing the outcome, but for me, like it's like when I see a tarot reading, I see it as like I don't know, multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
So like this is like a outcome that could happen, but like there's infinite possibilities here. So like keeping both of those things in mind while reading is really important for me.
Mm-hmm. And I have a I don't know if I'm like I definitely am clairaudient because I hear stuff constantly. And it's just like, hello. But I can see things in my mind's eye. And a lot of the times I feel like, and I didn't have that before. Before it was just kind of dreams and random stuff. But once I started reading tarot, I started actually like seeing stuff like in waking day and in waking moments. And a lot of the times, like if you do get into tarot, you might see something or hear something that nothing in the reading is connecting to. Like in the last Leo reading, I kept getting a mattress. I'm like, why do I keep seeing a mattress? And I just was like, I felt the need to say it so it would go away and I
Mhm.
could get what's next. And a lot of the times, the cards aren't going to give you those random things. Like they are elemental, they are on the journey, they are in different phases of life. They're not giving you full on details. So that's why it's always good to incorporate like Oracle or anything that gives you some words or some indication and like kind of pay attention to what you're seeing, what you're feeling, and also what you're hearing when you're reading. Because a lot of the times that has a message for you and it's gaining your insight even more.
So with tarot, and as you're like you just said, you were talking about how like your abilities, like clairaudience or audio, how do you say that?
Clairaudience, yeah, I
Yeah.
think. I pronounce things wrong
Um,
all the
that's fair. Me too.
time.
Like how those, I don't know, mental psychic abilities or whatever you want to call it, increase over time. I've experienced that as well. Like it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, the more aware of it it gets. And using that to read is really, really, really important because it gives you those little details. So if nothing else, like reading for yourself, just to practice flexing that muscle, I think is really important.
Yeah, I like that analogy, connecting it. And I'm all about body working now. So that goes exactly with what I do as well. I'm about to use that with my energy work people.
Yeah,
Because I tell
absolutely.
people too, when I do energy work, whether I pull cards for them or whatever, I always say, I'm like, you could walk out this door and do absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
Or you could walk out this door and you could say, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm
Hmm.
going to use it and I'm going to take the action on it. And now after like a year of having like certain energy work people, I'm like weird with getting compliments. Like I don't know why. It just I got to work on that. But a lot of them mentioning like the people who've actually have taken it and left my suite with like, okay, I'm gonna do this, have said like I feel different. Like I see life differently. And like if it wasn't
Hmm.
for you, I wouldn't have like felt this way. And like it actually is opening up some of my clients to do different things. Like somebody was like, to me, this is like therapy. So I can only imagine what therapy would actually do for me. And I was always scared of it and like helping people like go more into like taking care of themselves and stuff like that. So I feel like although tarot is looked at as taboo, it's really just a tool. It's really just to help you guide. It's not connected to any negative forces beyond your control and this, that, and the other. Because then if that's the case, so is your regular playing cards that you're playing solitaire with. So remove that from the belief system and get yourself a tarot deck.
You have tarot decks. I have a really close friend, and I actually have her deck. Her name's Liz Houston. She's in LA. She lost her house to the LA fires. And I wanted to put her deck up for you guys to get. It's called the Dream Keeper's Tarot. It's a beautiful deck. I actually use it. That's like my main deck now. It was a gift from a friend. And so any way that you guys can support her by purchasing that deck, that'd be huge.
Yeah, so find the link down below. I will put it in the comment section as well as a description box if you would like to buy that deck and support her and help her rebuild her life and her family. I know some people actually are looking for people to support around this time. So head down there if you're into tarot and or know somebody who's into tarot, it'd be a great way to help somebody one with a tool as well to rebuild. And on our next episode, we will actually be having another YouTube tarot reader on here. Blue Mountain Tarot will be with us next episode. So don't forget to subscribe, like this video if you have not already, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye.